I was educated, as you say, in Germany, and in Bonn. I got my PhD at Bonn University, and after 2 years working still at Bonn, I went to Colombia, but that was a long time ago. That was the end. That was at the end of the 70s. People in Colombia, the Colombian culture is completely different from the German culture, and actually that was um, very important to open up in that sense. I liked Colombia. I really still love the country, and I was prepared to go to Chile. I mean, scientifically, my intention was to end up as a scientist in Chile. I love South American culture, although the Chilean one is again different from the Colombian one. And here in Chile are the big observatories, the access to the telescopes. So I was lucky enough, and I worked hard for it also, to become an astronomer in a permanent way with a permanent contract in a Chilean institution. I spent 6 years at Universidad Católica in the 90s, and then I went to Universidad de Concepción, which is the third, well, the largest, the biggest university, the most important one outside Santiago, the third largest in the country. And there was no astronomy outside Santiago. In Chile, everything is very concentrated to Santiago still today. And the university, the astronomy was no exception. So I think I built up astronomy at Universidad de Concepción. I was first there, astronomer there at the physics department, and finally I succeeded to build up an astronomy department there, an astronomy department, sorry, that was started operations in 2008. And now we are full-fledged department with, I think we have 13 astronomers and postdocs and so on. But as I said, the international environment, I always worked, even in the Colombian days, and especially in the Colombian days, with collaborators coming from other countries, basically from Europe or the United States. I had a postdoctoral fellow working with me some 20 years ago, a young Polish who just got his PhD in Warsaw. He came to work with me in Concepcion as a postdoc with the same science interest, of course. He had been a couple of times in Chile before in a Polish project, and he was very eager to come and work with me in Concepcion. And we started together a new project, a big project. It's called the Araucaria project. And we had a lot of ideas. And then we started this project in, I think, 2001. We published the first paper. And he stayed with me 6 years, as far as I remember, in Concepcion. And then for family reasons, he wanted to return to Poland, which made our collaboration a little more difficult, but not that much, because we had internet, we had email, we had Skype at this time. So we kept collaborating intensely. Even when Grzegorz went back to Poland, I think in 2006. And we kept working in our project. And then he, working in Warsaw, he realized the opportunities the European Union was offering for doing research projects. And so Grzegorz Tierczynski, my ex postdoc, was the one actually who came up with the idea we should ask we should send a proposal to the European Research Council for funding our project we had in mind. And we did this for the first time in 2015, probably it was, in this Horizon 2020 series of projects. And we presented a project where Grzegorz Tierczynski from Warsaw, he was enabled to present it as the corresponding principal investigator. But we had two PIs on the project, one in Pierre Cavella is in Paris, and myself in Chile. So that's the way I got into a project financed by the European Union. And now more recently, with this project, after 5 years, which we will be finishing in 2 months from now, we will start a new project, which we applied for. I think that started 2 years ago, in this ERC Synergy project series, which I understand is the biggest or the project with the largest funding offered by the European Research Council. We were lucky enough to get the approval. We were winning this project Well, the Chilean community will benefit in the way I will, as part of the project, for me here in my Concepcion part of this Synergy project, I will have the opportunities to hire several postdocs, and which is it's not yet defined. I'm just in the process of finding postdocs, but usually or most likely there will be one or two young Chileans who will be integrated in the project as postdoc, and that's a tremendous opportunity for them to construct their career as astrophysicists. That's one thing. I will also integrate certainly a couple of students in the project. It's a project which is for many years, and there's money also to pay stipends for students and integrate them in our work. So there will be students will be trained. So I think that's a great opportunity also to the host country, in my case Chile, that I can contribute to educating postdocs, people, young people already advanced, already having a doctorate, but also younger people still in education at the master level or even at the pregrado or undergraduate level. And I think that benefits scientifically. That will benefit Chile, definitely. What I think the way to get into such a project is associate yourself with a researcher or several researchers, at least one, working in a European country, uh, based in a European institution, and working in your field. Try to establish a collaboration with one or several European researchers. And then they should know about it. They have the opportunity to apply for research projects in Europe. And then you can be in your home country and in Latin America, you can be part of it. That's the way I have done it, and that's what worked out very well. And I think that would be my suggestion. The project we are working in a field, we're doing something which is called constructing the extragalactic distance scale. One of the traditional big problems in astronomy is the improving the art of determining distances to all kinds of astronomical objects, to stars, to galaxies, and to the most remote galaxies at the end, let's say, which are really extremely far away from us. That's important, and the only way, actually, well, not the only way, but the traditional way, and probably the best way, to learn about the structure of the universe as a whole and determine uh, a famous constant, which is called the Hubble constant. Hubble is this famous North American astronomer who started measuring distances to galaxies almost 100 years ago. I think it was in the 20s of the past century. And of course, the Hubble Space Telescope, everybody knows this Hubble, Edwin Hubble. So you need to, we see all the objects in the sky, but we have no idea how remote or how close they are. We need to measure their distances to get a three-dimensional picture. And people started doing that, as I said, basically some 100 years ago. And we in our project have some very concrete ideas how to do it better than anybody else who has done it so far. And in our project, we will improve several methods to determine distances and actually to take the uncertainty on these distances to 1% or even below 1%, to do very, very precise determinations of distances of objects of nearby galaxies. And that can be, we will be, well, I think I should not enter the details, but this will enable us to determine the distances to galaxies which are not so close, which do contain so-called supernovas. And these supernovas are the most, well, stars which explode at the end of their lives, and they are extremely bright in the moment of their maximum brightness. And these supernovas can be used, well, first of all, they can be seen. They are so bright that when a supernova explodes in a galaxy, and it is so bright that even in very remote galaxies, you can see them. And you can measure the brightness in the peak of their brightness. They show a so-called light curve. First, they increase their brightness during the first, let's say, 20 days after the explosion, increase, get a maximum luminosity, and they fade away slowly in the course of weeks, months, years. So we can calibrate these supernovas as standard candles. We call it standard candles in astronomy. We know the brightness in their brightest moment in the maximum. And if we see a very faint supernova in a very distant galaxy, and we know its true brightness, the difference between the faint brightness we observe in the maximum and the true brightness in that moment we know gives us a distance of that galaxy. And this is a method which has been applied for decades now, but we have in our project, we can construct a so-called distance scale, which will help us to improve that method very, very significantly. And why is this important? We want to know more about the structure of the universe itself. This is done by as a part of astronomy which is called cosmology, and we can now do observations which are good enough to really determine the cosmological parameters in a much more stringent way than before. And the most important cosmological parameter perhaps is the so-called Hubble constant, H naught. The Hubble constant measures the expansion, the current expansion rate of the universe. The universe is expanding. That's something we know since Hubble's time, some 90 years ago. The galaxies are all receding from us. And the more distant they are, the larger their recession velocity. The universe is expanding. And if you determine this rate of expansion of the universe, you can learn a lot about what has been going on in the universe since its creation in the so-called Big Bang, and that happened some 14,000 million years ago, some 14 billion years ago. That can be determined very precisely from a thing called the cosmic microwave background. So we know the age of the universe, but we would like to know it better, and we would like to better trace out this history of expansion of the universe to this giant universe we have today, which was created in a Big Bang some 14 billion years ago. And that's something. Now the point is that you basically this Hubble constant, which is so important, which has so much information in it about this expansion history of the universe. This can be determined with the supernova method, which I described before, which we will improve in our project. And it's very timely because some years ago, a group working in a completely different experiment also determined the Hubble constant using data of a satellite called Planck, which is still in orbit. And they are basically using observations of this microwave background, which is a relict of the Big Bang. So basically, they are measuring the Hubble constant from data coming from the very early universe, almost 14 billion years ago, while our observations are measuring the Hubble constant from objects which are located in the more local universe, or we are looking at objects which were formed or which are typically 13,000 billion light years. So we are looking at the present universe. And if you do that, and that has been done, the most important research on that in the last years has been a Nobel Prize winner, Adam Rees, who got the Nobel Prize in 1998 for the discovery, with two more people, for the discovery that the expansion of the universe we have today, we observe, is actually accelerated. The universe is expanding ever faster and faster and faster, which was completely contrary to expectation, astronomers said. Astronomers thought the expansion will slow down because of the gravity of all the galaxies and we observe the contrary. The expansion of the universe is even becoming faster and faster. So Adam Rees and his group, they are using the supernova calibrations to determine the Hubble constant, and these Planck satellite people, looking at the data from the very early universe, find, and that's the point, a value of the Hubble constant which is smaller, which is discrepant with what we get with observations of the supernova in, let's say, the present day universe. And this discrepancy seems to be significant. It's about 5 sigma for those who understand that. So it seems to be a significant, within the uncertainties of the determinations, the discrepancy seems to be significant. And that's something we want to check with our improved method, if this discrepancy is real. Because if it is real, if the present day universe is characterized by a larger Hubble constant, a larger expansion rate than what you get from the observations of the early universe, of this cosmic microwave background, then you can hope to learn, you have to explain this discrepancy, and that will open up ways. The explanations probably will hint us and point us toward even completely new physics. You know that we have good ideas about the physical nature of the universe, but it is very well possible that still uh, physics is missing, which we are not yet understanding, or to which even nobody's not yet thinking about. So if we confirm that the Hubble constant discrepancy is real, that's perhaps the main aim of our project, and we have a clear-cut way of how we want to get to do that better than other people who have done it before. Then there will be a tremendous need for physicists also to come up with possible explanation of this discrepancy.